All right, everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. And yeah, we're talking about Suicide Squad. Killed the Justice League today, and Suicide Squad has killed more than just the Justice League. It's also killed Warner Brothers game boss David Haddad's career right now, as he has resigned due to the Sweet Baby Ink infected game. Ugh. Anyway, let's cue to music and we'll talk about this article. Warner Brothers game boss David Haddad resigns as Sweet Baby Ink-infected Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League fallout decimates Warner Brothers gaming division. Now, we all know the story of this one. This was the live service game. It was a 4-player game, and when it was originally announced, it was received with, the initial trailer was received with less than enthusiastic response. And if you remember correctly, that color purple I keep talking about was very, very prevalent in the previews in that first trailer. And it's been ever since too. And I know it's kind of a weird thing, but they talk about how that's a very big color in, I guess, not only the feminist movement and all that, but also the trans movement. And it's kind of like one of those things that it's kind of underneath, so it's behind the scenes a little bit. You don't really notice it, but once you start to see it and you notice it, if you're aware of things and you open your eyes, you're going to start recognizing these things. You're going to recognize these patterns, these signs, these red flags. And yeah, that was one of them there. Anyway, the fallout from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League may have just claimed another major casualty. Warner Brothers Games president David Haddad is stepping down after a catastrophic year for the division, marred by the $200 million failure of Rocksteady's live service DC Arkhamverse game. They were planning on doing a few years worth of support on the game with battle passes and introducing new characters, expanding the story, and all this other nonsense. And in the end, man, my understanding is they gave this lackluster, everybody was just a clone type, the whole it's just a dream trope at the end to undo everything that was done in the game, so that the game can still exist in the Arkhamverse without having any repercussions. I mean, it started off with them killing Batman, and then it just got worse from there. And it was just a complete abomination from what I understand. And the character designs were terrible. You had, like Mrs. Freeze, the one that looks like she was a lesbian and owns a coffee shop. Just really bad stuff overall. Just absolutely terrible. Anyway, a key factor in this debacle, the divisive involvement of Sweet Baby Inc., the narrative design firm co-founded and run by Kim Belair. The firm's embrace of identity politics and disruptive creative direction has left a trail of failures across the gaming industry. David has thoughtfully and purposely chosen a time when our release schedule is lighter, which will help minimize disruption to our ongoing projects and strategic plans and allow this team to smoothly prepare for its next record-breaking title, Warner Brothers Discovery Global Streaming and Games CEO and President J.B. Perrett said. That means we waited until it was a little bit quieter on our schedule till we shit-canned him and gave him the opportunity to bow out and pretend that he did this on his own. I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished together at Warner Brothers Games during my time with the company, Haddad said following his resignation. It has been an absolute pleasure working on building our iconic gaming franchises, and I will continue to be an enthusiastic supporter of this talented team's future endeavors. I look forward to working on the next chapter of my career and will always be grateful for my time with Warner Brothers Games. While Haddad's departure is being framed as voluntary, many are quick to point out at financial fallout from Kill the Justice League and chalk this up to another Sweet Baby Inc. client suffering heavy losses. I'd be interested to know the level of support he offered this game. If he was one of those that was gung-ho behind it, fully supportive, was on board with everything that Sweet Baby Inc. wanted to do. Was he resistant to it? Was this something that happened kind of like against his will, that the higher-ups kind of pushed on him and now he's being used as a patsy? Who knows? We'll probably never know. Maybe he'll speak up later on down the road. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see if he says anything. Although he probably has an NDA that he had to sign on his way out the door. So There's that. The truth, rarely ever comes out. Very rarely. Anyway, indeed, the exit of David Haddad is hard to separate from the disaster that was Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This live service shooter, developed by Rocksteady Studios, faces backlash from fans and critics alike for its uninspired gameplay, forced identity politics, and its ill-conceived narrative that saw beloved heroes like Batman and the Justice League killed off, only to be revealed as clones in a desperate plot twist nearly a year later. The controversial narrative choices overseen in part by SB&I alienated players, making the game a lightning rod for criticism. Yeah, they took Rocksteady, a developer that was used to creating the Arkham games, which were well known for being single-player games with, Batman games, right? That were great stories, great single-player games driven, a lot of combat, a lot of action, and really, really cool games, very highly acclaimed for the most part. They turned into live service trash. And I get it. Everybody's chasing that live service dollar, and, very rarely does it work. I mean, this last year we saw 2 games kind of break that live service failure mold. One of them being Helldivers 2, which is doing well. It's not, it's not incredible, but it's doing well. And then we've got Marvel Rivals, which is like, I think it murdered Overwatch 2. It's kind of overtaken that, the hole it created when it destroyed that game. But for the most part, everybody's chasing that dollar that these games offer, and it's just not working. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, like Concord, was a full-price game and had battle passes and all this other nonsense. Hard sell, man. Definitely a hard sell. Anyway, SBI's fingerprints were all over the project, from divisive storylines to its tone-deaf approach to the Justice League legacy. The firm was even given its own section of the game's credits. Their involvement, far from elevating the game, contributed to a product that disrespected fans and undermined Rocksteady's once stellar reputation. What could have been a triumphant return for the studio behind the iconic Arkham series instead became a high-profile disaster. Everything Sweet Baby Inc. touches turns into a disaster. And even the stuff that doesn't turn into a disaster, and I will admit there are a few games that they were involved with that weren't disasters, but you can still feel their taint on it. And it feels out of place. God of War Ragnarok, for instance, Anger Boda. It just doesn't fit in there, for obvious reasons. We're not going to rehash all that. Anyway, Warner Brothers has made it clear that the gaming division is not for sale, and the focus will shift to always-on live service and mobile titles tied to major IPs like Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and Game of Thrones. Yet this pivot raises questions about whether the lessons of Kill the Justice League will truly be learned, or if it's another step towards alienating core gamers in pursuit of short-term trends. For Warner Brothers, Rocksteady, and others who've partnered with SBI, the damage is done. While Haddad's departure is framed as a new chapter for many fans and industry observers, it feels more like the epilogue to a once bright legacy now marred by poor decisions and misplaced priorities. The influence of SBI didn't end with Suicide Squad. Reflector Entertainment had to restructure its entire business after the failure of Unknown Nine Awakening, a game in which Kim Belair served as story architect. And that was supposed to be a whole universe, a whole Star Wars type thing going on there. Square Enix also faced financial turmoil, restructuring its U.S. and European divisions after similar SBI-related missteps. Warner Brothers joins a growing list of publishers paying the price for their partnerships with the controversial narrative firm. Yet each and every time, Kim Belair walks away with her check. And that's what's wrong about this, The deal with these narrative firms like that, these firms that come in, these consultancy firms, should be you get paid when the game comes out. And if what you contributed helps make this game a success, then you get paid. If the game flops and the finger's pointed at the aspects of the game that you dealt with, you don't get jack squat. Rocksteady, once a beacon of excellence in superhero gaming, has been decimated. The studio was hit with mass layoffs in late 2024. And its legacy is now tarnished by a project that alienated fans and destroyed goodwill. Even one of Kevin Conroy's final performances as Batman, which could have been a heartfelt farewell, was overshadowed by poor storytelling and tone-deaf decisions. The debacle is part of a broader trend. SBI's involvement has repeatedly resulted in controversy, alienating fan bases and leaving studios and publishers in disarray, all while Belair and her team collect their money, right, and ride off unscathed. According to YouTuber master of the TDS citing inside sources, SBI hasn't lost any contracts over its many controversies, and the company has as many as 30 games in active development. It's bad. These consultancy groups do not have a dog in a fight, and I can't stress this enough. Steve Jobs talked about this. They're like hiring mercenaries, you know. The end result doesn't matter to them, right? You bring them in to do a part of a job. They do it, they collect their money, and they walk away. They're not there when the job is finished. They're not there for the grand opening, so to speak, right? They just do their little part and they walk away. And that's what sucks about this whole thing, because it's not like construction, for instance, right? Where you subcontract all this other stuff out. You got plumbers, you got electricians, you got all these other HVAC guys and all that. And if something doesn't work, you call them up, hey, you got to come back. The plumbing's not working, whatever. And they come back because they're still contracted to come back until everything's working. No, these guys just come in, they consult, let's do this and that. And then they walk away with their check. And when the game comes out and it doesn't work, well, F you, I got paid, I'm moving on. I got other contracts to worry about here. I got more places to destroy, more games to tarnish, more studios to decimate, and more CEOs to get fired. Anyways, David Haddad steps down. Warner Brothers is left to pick up the pieces. The question remains, will the company learn from Suicide Squad's failure, or will it double down on the same decisions that led to this disaster? For fans, the damage done by Sweet Baby Inc.'s divisive influence feels irreversible, and the gaming industry seems stuck in a cycle of repeating the same mistakes. So what do you guys think, man? You think he was voluntary? Think he was fired? You think Sweet Baby Inc. is the reason behind this? I guarantee you they're not 100% the reason, but they were definitely a contributor to it, because there's a common denominator with everything they touch almost is a failure. Like I said, there's been a couple games that didn't fail, but their touch is felt in those games, and it is definitely a part of the game that sticks out. It doesn't feel right. A weaker part of the game, just something off about it. Sweet Baby Inc. brings nothing to the table of value. They're a garbage company. Kim Blair's a garbage human being, and I really hope these companies stop hiring these pieces of crap, and they're the ones that end up on the streets instead of all these developers and all that. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. I will see you guys next time. Until then, peace.